Welcome to Watch Symposium. I'm Austin. Let's check out some watches in Shinjuku. A 16700 all black, tritium dial, Holes case, hollow in-link bracelet. In fact, the first three of these GMTs are tritium dialed watches, which would make them 1996 models or earlier. Some early U serials from 1997 are also tritium dialed, but most are Swiss only dials, and that was the start of the Swiss only dial, the U serials in 1997. These first three GMTs seem to have period correct bezel inserts with a serifed fat font, and I think I see some purpling as well. Now these first three watches are regular GMTs, but for about $1,000 USD more, you could go for this more modern GMT Master 2 with a solid in-link bracelet, no holes case, Swiss-made dial. Now if you wanted the functionality of the GMT Master 2, but you wanted to save over $3,000 USD, you could go with this 1996 T serial, no box, no papers, but it's got a replacement insert. And if you're a tourist paying that cheaper tax-free price, this Z serial with the 3186 blue parachrome spring movement could be a nice collector's piece. For the same money, I would consider this pre-ceramic root beer and then taking it to RSC for the two-tone Jubilee bracelet, which has to be expensive. This is a relatively modern F serial, box, papers, precious metal. Considering the price of the steel pieces, this is pretty competitive. And this two-tone ceramic GMT is even cheaper than its pre-ceramic counterpart. One of my new favorites since it was discontinued, the all black ceramic GMT. Now this has come down from the initial price rise. I hope you didn't buy it then. Now's the time to buy one of these watches. And here's the original BLNR, and the price has come down on those as well. I made a video about that, predicting this. It shot up and I said, just wait, it'll come back down to about 14 or 15. Here we are. Now, any price rise going forward is going to be organic. Picking a single winner here is impossible because there's so many good options depending on if you're looking for modern pre-ceramic wearability, value proposition, or collectability. Here's a pre-ceramic Gmt, as they're called, the 50th Anniversary Submariner, which was released in 2003. It ran for 7 years until the Hulk was released. Later on, we got this with the same maxi dial, maxi hands, but this has a maxi case and the ceramic insert. And various other Submariner and Submariner-inspired watches, and I'm talking about the Yachtmaster, which is just a variation of the Submariner. Rolex watches for scientists, the anti-magnetic Milgauss. Here's a discontinued white-dialed version, probably one of my favorites. Some Sea Dwellers on the left and Explorer 2s on the right. That Polar Explorer 2 is a 42mm model, and that black dialed Explorer 2 in the back is a 40mm version. Looks to be a P serial from 2000, solid in-link bracelet, holes case, Swiss-made dial. And a shot of this whole case of steel stunners. Now off to the right, a blue dialed Sky Dweller, one of the hottest models, probably just below the Daytona. This is a new piece, never seen one in the wild. Yet quite a few exist on the gray market at this exorbitant premium. Trying on one of my favorites of the Milgauss line, the discontinued white dial. Absolutely beautiful with the orange accents, kind of a funky watch. I think this could be a future classic, future collectible. Fits me perfectly. Don't know if I could handle paying so much for a watch with so little. After all, this is a time-only watch. No date, no rotating bezel, and polished center links, which I'm not crazy about. Here's a profile shot of it. It's a thicker watch. It's got the Faraday cage, not overly thick, but not quite as streamlined and thin as the OP line. Now this is a model that I think could look as good, if not better, with brushed center links. Unlike the Yachtmaster, where the polished middle links really work with the bezel, which has a mixture of brushed and polished surfaces itself. While I like the dial, I don't know if long-term the colors would grate on me. A couple steel Zenith Daytonas. I think on the right that could be a Patrizi dial. If you already have a penchant for two-tone watches and prefer them to the all-steel pieces, the Daytonas are great bang for buck. They are just so much more affordable than their steel counterparts. This is probably cheaper than a ceramic Gmt. A trio of 6-digit in-house movement Daytonas. This is the model after they stopped using the Zenith movement, and there are a couple tells. The subdials, the second subdial is at the 6, whereas on the Zenith movement, it's at the 9. Also, the indices are different. The in-house movement 6-digit Daytona has kind of fat indices, whereas the Zenith movement Daytona indices are straight. They're small. Well, they're not weirdly shaped, to put it bluntly. Much more of a fan of that aesthetic. But these are certainly desirable watches. Nobody's denying that. You'll notice two prices, with and without tax. Tourists don't have to pay tax, so when you're talking something really expensive like this piece, it almost pays to fly somebody in to, quote, help you purchase it. I mean, that's $7,000 plus in taxes. And this would be a good beater, a good travel watch, high quality, but if something happened to it, it wouldn't be the end of the world, not like, $10,000 Rolex. In fact, there are a lot of good options for kind of cheaper, quote, entry-level pieces when you're talking pre-owned Omega watches or Omega watches. And you're looking at a watch right here that I almost bought when I was living in Fukuoka, and love the white dial, the red accents. Not so crazy about the Arabics. Can't say I regret passing on it. This is a 2020 Tokyo Olympics limited edition Speedmaster, and it's one of 5 different color schemes. I think this is known as the Rising Sun. That's the nickname it has. And you can still buy these at the Omega ADs here. And it's one of my favorite of the 5 different color schemes. The black and white one is the one that sold out pretty much immediately. Some Tudors, and to the right, the Tudor Black Bay Gmt, which was pretty strong right out of the gate when it was first released, but seems to have dropped a lot since then. Price-wise on this piece, you're getting into Iconaut, Hydronaut territory. When it comes to the collectability of a lot of these Tudors, I really think it's the old Tudor subs that have the most potential, but I kind of question the wisdom in paying Submariner prices for them. Like that Omega quartz we saw earlier, these are really usable pieces, not crazy expensive. If something happened to it on your travels, it wouldn't be the end of the world. This is a nice chronograph. It's got the date. I prefer the blue version, though. All right, next stop. I commented on this beautiful Rolex 1675, and the shopkeeper couldn't get it out of the case and in my hands fast enough, as if that was going to seal the deal for the purchase. Now, note the coronet on the dial, the interesting shape, and those changed shapes throughout the decades. A Rolex fit for a king. This is known as the King Midas and was the Rolex of choice for Elvis Presley. Over $25,000 for this new old stock GMT Master 2. For that kind of money, you really need the 3186 movement. To a non-watch person, this would look like 3 of the same watch, but on the right, that's a 16700 last of the straight GMT. That's a U serial, so very likely a Swiss-only dial. In the middle, GMT Master 2, 16710. On the left, their grandfather, a 16750. On the left, an all-steel Zenith Daytona. Check out the price on that. All the way to the right, a black-dialed Milgauss. That sub to the right's a 16610 date sub, last of the pre-ceramic subs. And on the left, a 5513, and that's an acrylic crystal sub, no date sub, and you can see it's got replacement hands. Still a beautiful piece, though. Here's that new old stock GMT Master 2 we saw earlier, and this is a Z serial. Now, the late Z serials and M serials had the 3186 movement. Pretty sure that this is the 3185 movement. This price is a little over the top. An absolutely amazing box and papers, white dialed Zenith Daytona. You can't tell me those indices aren't just perfect. The form of the Daytona is well crystallized, so don't expect it. But it's kind of interesting to think that the date functions never graced a Rolex Daytona. Now, I'm not even into gold watches, but how amazing and unique is this watch? The dial, look at the indices. That has to be some black onyx or something. Absolutely beautiful. A box and papers pre-ceramic Kermit. This is a Z serial, so it'd be a later Kermit. It's got the engraved rehaut. And one of these sold in Hong Kong recently for, I want to say, 22,000 USD. So this could be a steal in the future. Remember the days when they were less than 100,000? An unused black dial Explorer 2, and this looks to be an F serial, so it'd be 2003 to 2005, but the guarantee is dated 2008, so it sat around the shop for a long time. Hard to believe some of these watches sat for years unsold at ADs. A closer look at these 4 watches we've seen before. What do you guys think of the 369 orange indices? I think it could do without. Now, I said this 16610 was the last of the pre-ceramic date subs, and that's true, but this is earlier Z serial. The later ones had the engraved rehaut. The 5513 ran from 1962 to 1989. That's 27 years. And this has a gloss dial and applied indices. The earlier ones had no gold surrounds on the indices. The black dial Zenith Daytona. Now in the subdials brown and patina, that's known as a Patrese dial, which this doesn't seem to be. An unworn and minty 34mm OP on the left, and on the right a 36mm vintage 1016 Explorer. And there we have it, guys. Did you enjoy the video? Consider subscribing. Drop a comment in the comments section. Give it a thumbs up. That helps me out a lot. It motivates me to make more videos if you want to see more like this. Thanks, take care, and I'll see you next time.